On to number 11, Community Panel for City Manager Recruitment and Selection.
Through the mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to go ahead and discuss this along with my ad hoc partner, Councilperson Shaw. Just as a matter for the public to at least have a idea of what's been going on. The process of hiring a new city manager was initiated several weeks ago with the selection of Councilperson Shaw and myself as the ad hoc committee representing the city council. Process has continued with the selection of a recruiting firm. Councilperson Shaw and I interviewed the firm, which was followed by a meeting between the firm and the entire city council, where the entire city council approved the firm. Councilperson Shaw and I have had several meetings with the recruiting firm over the past few weeks, have developed a recruitment schedule, as well as some basic procedural items. We meet with the recruiting firm at least once every 2 weeks, and we brief the entire city council on the process and the results of those meetings. The item before us tonight involves the selection of a community advisory panel, and the purpose of the panel is to participate in an advisory capacity in the selection process by meeting with finalists for the city manager's position and providing feedback through the ad hoc committee back to the city council. Tonight, Councilperson Shaw and I are recommending the following for consideration and approval by the city council, is that we do go ahead and move forward with establishing a citizens advisory panel. A couple key components here. Number one is that when we were determining the sectors and et cetera, we want that community advisory panel to be a manageable number. It would be easy to, there's a lot of talented people in the community or in our city, and it would be easy to put a bunch of people together to sit on this. But at the same time, there's two main things that we really need to manage here. One is to balance transparency with the confidentiality of the applicants, and also make sure that the advisory panel understands that the final selection is made by the city council, and that the advisory panel would be made up of folks who have some experience with hiring individuals at the level and skills of the city manager that Yuba City deserves. We're recommending that we limit the panel to no more than 5 people, that the panel participants to represent certain segments of our city. And if you look up at the board, this is what we've come up with, and we're recommending for the council to consider. Healthcare, a rep from healthcare, a rep from business development, a rep from the building and construction industry, a representative from public safety, a rep from the ag industry, and a rep from finance. We feel these are key activities and key components to the success of a city manager, and they directly relate to the services that our city provides. We are recommending that panel participants must either live within the city limits or do business within the city. That panel participants are seated in, and this is important, in an advisory capacity only. Final selection of the city manager, as I mentioned earlier, is entirely dependent upon the city council approval. We would suggest that the names be proposed. This would be the selection process, is that if council approves these sectors, then the city council members would nominate representatives out of each one of those sectors to the city manager. The purpose of running this through the city manager is for Brown Act implications. Not trying to hide anything, but it makes sense that for instance, if I have 5 or 6 names that I want to put in, I would put them into the city manager. City manager would then forward those names to Councilman Shaw and myself without us knowing who nominated them. It provides for a process that doesn't involve a bunch of extra meetings that we don't need to have. We would like for you to consider as a council that you provide those names before the end of business on October 12th. That way we can continue with our process and work with the recruiting firm. With that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Councilman Shaw to cover any ideas or not ideas, but items that I did not cover, and certainly will be available to answer any questions as well.
Thank And my mic is off. There we go. Starting in, thank you, Vice Mayor. It's been a privilege thus far working with you on this. One of the things that I saw a couple of looks because we talked about a manageable number being possibly 5, I believe you said, but we got 6 categories. We could have one individual that might fit a couple of those. These are just the categories that we saw that emulate the responsibilities of the city, who the stakeholders of the city are, that really, can discern those attributes we need to see in our next city manager and in that advisory role. So, and I absolutely concur. The whole idea behind this is to do a different process than we did the last time and get that community input in advisory capacity and, as you said, maintaining confidentiality with the people who are on that, the candidates that are here, because that is very vital, but yet being very transparent with the rest of our council members and the public as this process continues. And so far, great job, Vice Mayor, and I totally agree with these areas that represent what we need to have looking at our city manager.
Through the mayor, thank you, Vice Mayor and Councilman Shaw for the work that you've done so far for us as a city and the council, in particular with taking the lead on helping us navigate this process with selecting a new city manager, which our current interim has done a fantastic job. So I just want to throw a shout out to Diana. I really do, I agree with you. A manageable group is important. I also would like to see maybe consideration to expand the manageability of the number, and I will make my recommendations. I think I kind of got ahead of it. I ended up sending recommendations already. So I'm thinking that we possibly consider having someone from Sutter County Board of Supervisors also be part of that community panel. I was thinking someone from Yuba County Board of Supervisors as well, because there are partnerships in the region. I agree with the financial piece of it. I was also thinking perhaps a representation from faith-based organizations, a person, just to be more well-rounded in the community. I like the idea of having a young person on the panel because they are our future. We are the present. And believe me, it catches up fast. Before you know it, we're not here any longer. So I really think a youth, and for certain, I think education has to be added. Education is not even listed on there. And people come, what's one of the biggest reasons people move to any location? Most likely is how good is that education system is. We don't even have them listed up there. So I think we need to add a representative from education. And if you're thinking business development, because we have a large number of retail in this community, and retail, I'm speaking of it in restaurants. Maybe someone from the chamber could be a representative from the chamber because they deal with economy as well. But those are the additions, and if there's any questions or saying, hey, no, that's too many, Grace, but at least I want to have my first priority, education, a rep on there from education. Second priority would be Sutter County Board Supervisors, Yuba County Board Supervisors. And my third one would be someone from a faith-based organization, because our community has a strong hold on that and culture. So those are my top 3 that I would like to add on to the 6. And maybe one person could wear 4 or 5 of these, but I really would like to have an odd number on there to help advise us. So those are my suggestions.
Okay.
Myself personally, I'm happy with what the ad hoc committee has suggested. 5 people would be more than enough. We don't need to get a rodeo going. You know, we've been on committees ourselves. When you get 10, 12 people on a committee, it takes forever. A 5-person committee would suit the city just fine. And I think the suggestions that our ad hoc committees made, I agree with their decision.
Okay, and, well, I couldn't said it better. I agree as well. You clearly put a lot of work and effort and consideration into the recommendations. Also appreciate your opinions as well. And for that, do we have any comment from the public on the matter?
So through the mayor, I want to
Ma'am,
get this
can we do
clear.
public comment first? I've called for that.
None here.
Nothing,
Here.
and nothing in the room? Okay, go right ahead.
So my recommendations of a representative from education, I'm hearing Councilman Cardoza say, not important. Is that what I'm hearing you say? And Mayor Harris? So the recommendation of an education representative on that is not important then, Mayor Harris? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
No,
Okay, so you don't think it's an important representative?
I'm not saying it's not important. We can go down a list of every profession that would be important, but we do need to limit it to keep it a management number. I am not saying it's not important.
I'm speaking of the education system that we have over 15,000 community children that attend our school system, and we don't have a representative on the community panel?
Let me try to help you better understand
Okay,
what we were working through. Frankly, we think you represent education, and you're going to have the final say. And I think you're well qualified to represent education in the selection process. That was part of the consideration of why we came up with the list that we came up. I don't think your recommendation or your suggestion of an education person is wrong. It's just that our thought process through all this was, we've got that person, and that's you.
I appreciate that, Vice Mayor. I just want to remind us that education is critical to whatever decisions are made in the growth or non-growth of the city. So faith-based, I hear so much from faith-based that they're with us a lot. So I thought that would be a great addition to this as well. But these people may have some faith in them as a representative. I get that. And I think because we work so much regionally that sometimes we need to have a representative from one of the board of supervisors from each one in the county.
Okay.
So again, just to share
Yeah.
with you, the thought process is there's more than one panel involved here.
Okay.
And as it relates to relationships with Sutter and Yuba County, it's not out of the realm of possibility that we would have staff members who would be interacting with the individual and who may be in a position to provide their feedback as a peer, if you will, on this panel. So it would be a separate panel than a community panel or a city panel.
Okay, so we're going to include somewhere in the process.
That would be our intent at this
Intent.
point, yes.
Thank you for clarifying that. That wasn't clear to me. Okay. I think we've gone through at least my top 3, so thank you so much.
And we're asking one more time, confirming no comment from the public?
None.
All right. So, let's see here. We have received the recommendations from the ad hoc committee. You have A, B, and C on here. And we need a motion.
Through the mayor, I'd like to make the ad hoc committee's recommendation of the community panel for city manager recruitment and selection, A, B, and C.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
And opposed? There we go.